I hope you can see this tree behind me. It's a wild apple tree growing alongside the road next to my property, and it's just 5 feet off the bank of the ditch. Notice this is July 17th in mid-Michigan, and I don't know if you can see the dark water there, but every time it rains we get water. This ditch has been wet all year, and it's middle July. So this apple tree has ample water supply. I saw the apple in blossom in the springtime, and I said, there's a wild seedling apple. Why leave it just go to chance? Why don't I graft it over to something more useful? So I grafted it to 4 different varieties, I believe. Gold Rush, Empire, and 2 others that I happen to have some scions left over from my regular grafting. And it's kind of a bush up top. Now I'm going to go out there. I can't cross the ditch. I can't leap that far. So I have to go and walk in from the end of the road there, which is about 150 feet away, and go through the jungle to get out here. I'll have to build a bridge to get to this tree to safely care for it. Notice my careful gardening out here, my cutback of trees that were shading it. Yeah, I just stack them all over there. That's okay. Keeps the deer from coming in and bothering the tree if they can't get through all the treetops. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to prune back that tree so that it is prune it back so I can see it a little bit better. I want to put most of the energy of the tree now into the growing scions, of which I hope most of them took. We'll get a closer look from the other side of the ditch. But I want a tree, if it's going to grow apples, it might as well grow good apples. Something I can use. And it must be a nice healthy tree rootstock-wise, and cold hardiness, because it survived probably 20 years or better growing up through brush and everything else. And this is on just off from a power line right away. The power lines often were back in the olden days, 50 years ago or so, they would salt those power lines. Things don't grow well under a power line, and this apple survived because it's a little bit between the power line right away and the ditch. Great spot for an apple tree. Okay, here we are, part 2 of how to save a wild apple tree. Maybe I should entitle this video the cheapest way to make an apple tree, and that is find a wild one in the springtime, in around April or May, probably around May for mid-Michigan here. When apples are coming blossom, travel the countryside or your own property. Look for apple blossoms. They're white. They usually show up very well. Mark the tree. Come back later and cut out from around it. You see the treetops of these trees on a road right away that were shading the apple tree. And I simply decided, you know, I'm going to save that apple tree for me. And how do you know if the tree is going to survive for ages or for your life? Look at the flora around. I have a ditch, a water source. I have ferns growing on the ground. Ferns have to have quite a bit of water. These are walking ferns. These are dry ferns. I forget what they're called, but they grow on hilltops typically. In wetter areas you get these right here, if I can point to it, these walking ferns, and they grow where the water is more plentiful. Also swamp grasses and tag alters, which you see in the forest edge. They're all lowland plants. So the water source right here is probably any time of the year, even when the ditch is dry, I probably have water, 2 shovelfuls down, you know, no more than 2 foot deep, 3 foot deep. It's going to be damp soil. Let me zoom out here as far as I can. I'm kind of close. Okay, and well, I might as well walk right up to it. Let's take a look and see what we got here. Okay, I see. Yeah, it was kind of late in grafting this, so some of my scions were probably drying out already. And I see this scion, both of them died. That didn't work. The top scions, I have 3 out of 3. I don't know if you can see that. 1, 2, 3. 3 out of 3 worked. So I think they were 3 different varieties. Yes. And this one over here was one variety. So whatever that one was, it died. I'm going to prune this up a little bit and take another look. I don't know if you can see this too well, but there's something that looks like a woody growth right here. That's not a woody growth. Actually, it's like little pieces of grass stuck together. And I don't know if the bug makes it, or let's see if I can get a picture of it. It's a worm that infects a tree. And it looks like a bunch of little tiny sticks all cocooned around in a cylinder shape. And if the bug's still in there, it's in the center. And it's probably already hatched already. But it almost looks like a folded up leaf. And that's a worm. I forget the kind of worm it is, some sort of worm. And it just, after it gets done eating, it goes into its cocoon, makes a silk cocoon and ties together little branches. They're tiny, like thinner than the thickness of a lead pencil, each of them. And they're in the center of it. And you'll see them sticking out of leaves, or there's one on the tip of my finger, right in front of my finger. I point to it. Okay. I don't know how close this video is going to work. But you just pluck those off. If there's a worm inside, you know, you can mush it. You'll know it'll be wet inside. This one is dry. He's already hatched. But insects leave their tracks all over. Okay. Looking at, let me see if I can back up a little bit. Okay. I've opened up this tree. Here's the top. I left one living branch from the original tree just to keep this branch alive, because I might want to put a cyan graft onto it next year. My 4 different varieties, you notice this one is not so vigorous growing as the other 2, so you will get an unbalanced tree. Chances are in 10 years, this nice vigorous growing tree, whatever that is, that cyan will outbalance, you know, the other ones and just take over. But until then, I might get a couple different kinds of tree, a couple different kinds of fruit off from it. Let me see if I can back up a little bit. These cyans are grafted on about 6.5 feet above ground. I left on 2 what I call nursery limbs on the tree, lower limbs. They're sacrificial limbs. Man, kind of hard walking around here. Somebody knocked a bunch of trees down. They're nursery limbs. They keep the tree alive until I know that the grafts are going to grow out well. They're sacrificial for another reason, because I know that the deer munch on them in the fall, and anything below 6 foot that they can reach is typically all chewed up anyway. So you can't keep them around. They'll die anyway. So if you have a wild apple tree, you want to prune everything up to about 6 foot anyway. As the limbs grow, get larger and taller and get fruit, they'll bend down to the ground. The deer will get the ends of the trees anyway, the end of the limbs and the apples there, but they won't get the majority. So this is a cheapest way to grow yourself an apple tree. Find one God planted, then put what kind you want, kind of variety you want on top of it. Takes very little care once it gets growing.